Hey, this is Ancil Lee. Hey, thanks so much for joining today. Another edition of Common Grounds. This is our video blog, and man, I'm so excited to have Geoffrey Beecher, my friend here, on today. And hey, I got to know Geoffrey through an innovation hub called, I think it's Lighthouse Labs. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is.
And anyway, we've become fast friends and just admire the work he does. And hey, Geoffrey, thank you for being on here today. And um, if you would give folks a little, give them a snapshot of who Geoffrey Beecher is, and and what your background is, and maybe just a little personal tidbit.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's such an honor to be with you. You're such a great man. It's really my honor. My background, probably 3 decades in medical devices now, going on, maybe 32 years. Every day has been just fascinating for me. Married, I got 3 kids. They're not kids anymore. They're all through college, so very proud of them. And as I look back at my career, I'm just proud of that as well. It's been a lot of fun, and um, yeah, just been able to do a lot of things. I wake up every morning and enjoy my job. I think that's probably the most satisfying thing.
Oh, isn't that the truth? To really love what you do at this point in your career is such a big thing. And you and we've just had recently had a conversation I thought would be interesting to our viewers about the difficulty of people. And you and I both work with folks that are inventing stuff. They're a startup or they're an early stage company, and whether it be, and I'm really software technology, you're really the medical device guy. And and we're both, we're trying to help these guys get into healthcare. And we were talking about how things have really changed, about trying to get your product to market. And I just thought you had some great insight and how things have changed and how hard it is to get your technology in there.
Yeah, it's always been hard, but it's
True.
getting more and more difficult. Um, and you can blame the pandemic. That didn't help matters, but even before and after the pandemic, it's been difficult with the advent of value analysis committees on the device side. They're designed, and I'm probably going to get a lot of mail for this, but um, they really are designed to sort of they're a big hurdle. They sort of want to wear you out. Um, and I've seen a lot of great technologies just sort of wither on the vine. Um, it can be a lengthy process, and a lot of companies just don't have the financial stamina to withstand that.
Yeah.
You got to be prepared for it. It can go fast depending on the technology and the champion you might have, um, and the device itself will render that sort of champion. If you have a champion surgeon that's well thought of in an institution, he can really clear the pathway. It can happen as fast as 6 to 8 weeks. It can. And then you can have a surgeon champion or a physician champion within a certain healthcare system, and it can take a year. There's just no getting around it. It's frustrating for young companies. And then you can have, like you and I, we've been introduced to. I'll let you bring it up, but there's a very cool technology coming out of Arkansas that as soon as I saw it, I knew that was well engineered, solves a big problem. It's very elegant. The patients need it. I myself have been a patient and I needed that. And yet, interesting, if I may, it's Spencer Jones, and the product is Safe Break.
Yeah.
Um, that product it's needed. And in Spencer's words, the further he gets away from the bed, with the patient, the more difficult things become for him. So, the MBAs and I can say that because I am one, they just, they don't sort of understand. They should probably spend some time shadowing their clinicians to understand the problem. Um, it may seem like it's going to be costly for them to introduce a product like that, but in the end, the final analysis, it's a cost saving measure, and it's just so much better for the patient.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
You know, and that's what we see with, I mean, we both see this in that someone's come up with, you know, like Spencer, come up with technology that's needed, that will help the patient. And probably there's an ROI on the thing, you know, and nobody's looking at it, you know, or like you said, the barrier between, you know, like you said, and a good example of this is, you know, I was actually one of my clients. I took them in but I'm really software technology, and they are a medical device, and so I made some introductions, and they had a physician champion in a hospital, and so he wanted me to go on this call with him. So here we are. We show up we go to the hospital. We're let into the cath lab, you know, and here we've got a physician already there using this device, and you know, and I'm just sitting there listening to the whole conversation with the director, and it was so interesting because all of a sudden you throw in these committees that, you know, he had to go to this committee. I can't remember what it's called. Like it's a heart committee, and then you got another committee.
Yeah.
And some of these don't even have, I mean, they don't have, I mean, there are physicians that sit on them, but you got, like you say, more, you know, administrative folks that are sitting on these boards for these new devices.
Yeah, you could have a podiatrist sitting on that committee. No offense to any podiatrists listening, but they're making decisions on like a cath lab, you know, a wire or something that's being used in the cath lab. So not that they can't understand it, but it just doesn't seem to mesh in my mind. There needs to be some streamlining of that process and a better way for technology to get into the hospital system.
Yes. How do you overcome that? I mean, I know there's no simple answer, but I mean, what are your thoughts on I mean, if you're sitting in this spot, how do you overcome that?
Yeah, it's still about having a champion inside to fight for you and to make the case in the committee. And I try to help that process as much as I can. And, you know, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So, you know, if it's a complicated procedure or a complicated sort of solution that you're bringing, then you need to arm that champion with as much information as you can. And knowing that they're only going to get 5 or 10, 15 minutes to make their case.
Yep.
And so it's going to be succinct. It's got to solve the problem. It's got to check all the boxes, such as reimbursement. All those things need to be conveyed in a very short period of time. And even then, you know, it may get kicked over to the you know, just because you got through that committee doesn't mean that it's going to be approved. There's so many aspects to getting through it. It's a marathon. It's a race, you know, a long race. And like I said at the onset, it's a lot of these systems are designed to just keep you out, and whether or not you have the tenacity to hang in there and fight for it. And let's face it, you know, if you're a medical device rep working for a startup, they don't know anything about you. If you're Johnson & Johnson, you're probably going to get, you know, maybe fast tracked a little bit more. You've got a product that's, you know, probably been through some of these processes. And the small startup company, the small solution, which is the incubator for a lot of these larger companies, this is where the idea, the ideas and the proving ground for medical tech is in this small startup. So we are really challenged to fight that process. It's a big challenge.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for your insight here. And again, I know you work with a lot of folks in regards to helping them. And matter of fact, we were having this discussion the other day, and you were telling me a story, and I said, I've got to have that story in my new book, Common Grounds 2. And we won't go into detail, but hey, thank you so much for doing this chapter for me and for Common Grounds. And it really it talked about really I felt like how you were taught and really more your work ethic and the way you stuck to it. And it how would you encourage others and that are in this spot right now, um, to keep going?
Yeah, it's I think the thing about a medical device rep is, you got to keep evolving and adapting, and you might not know you're adapting, but you are, or you should, because um, traditional methods of doing things is not gonna it's not gonna cut it anymore. So,
Yeah.
breaking through the clutter, and I've recently just took a course on how to be heard rather than be found. And so the use of video is going to become very important.
Yeah.
And you need to become part of you need to try to become part of the team, um, such as the cath lab. And it's hard to do. Um, but if your product is compelling and you present it properly, and if you're doing it for the right reasons, which is the patient, if you keep the patient in mind, everything seems to follow. Everything seems to work, and that's been my approach anyway. I I've often been sort of when you get your own locker, you feel like you've arrived, and they want you there. And in fact, if you're not there, they sort of wait for you to get to the room if you've been held up in traffic. This happened to me before, where nothing happens till I get there, and that's just it's a good feeling to know that you're a part of the team, and
Oh,
that's what I always want to try
well
to
said.
be.
Well said. And that's an old IBM thing, is that if they're larger clients, they would have they would make a place that they would have a desk inside the whether it be the hospital or the clinic or whatever or whatever entity. But
Sure.
like that's a great point, Jeff, about being part of the team. And it
Mhm.
takes time to do that, and it takes trust. um so hey so so hey, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, the best way to do that is on your on your LinkedIn, your LinkedIn page. Do you have any other way that you would like people to reach out to you? They like to
I
know
think
more.
I think that LinkedIn page would be best, but I have just a Gmail, which they can certainly access, gbeecher56 at gmail.com. But I'd love for them to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and
Okay.
love to make more connections, and get their view on the state of the med tech market, biologics. Um, it's an evolving thing, and I also would just like to say there's other forces in play here that I think physicians are completely overwhelmed with the amount of paperwork that they have to produce for each patient, and it's causing them to work longer, harder, and that makes our job even more difficult to squeeze into their practice during the course of a day in the clinic. Um, so I don't know what the answers are there, but I know that they're struggling
Yeah.
to stay ahead of a dwindling reimbursement picture,
Yeah.
and the demands of their patient. So
Awesome.
it's an interesting place to be.
It is. It is. And hey, thank you for your insight. Hey, and if you want to get a hold of Jeff, hey, hit his. I'll put his LinkedIn um, URL here on the uh, underneath it underneath this video, and or you can contact me. You can just contact me directly, and I'll put you in touch with Jeff. So listen, Jeff, thank you so much for taking time today, brother. And I wish you well. And hey, thanks for being in Common Grounds 2. And you can read Jeff's chapter in Common Grounds 2. And you can go to commongrounds2.com and sign up for the releases. We're going to release that in mid-August, but more about that later. But listen, Jeff, thanks for taking time.
Ansel, thank you so much. I appreciate this moment, and also being a part of your book is like the biggest honor. So thank you, sir.
Well, it's my honor, and thank you for saying that. And hey, and more good things to come. So anyway, thank you guys. Thanks, Jeff, for joining me today, and talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.